I'm just the puppet that plays him, really. I'm joking. All right. Let's see how we doing. Awesome. Yas. All right. Shelly is LA ready. I just gave him a new set of strings, changed all of his strings. I believe it was on Tuesday. So he's ready for the show. And let's get started. So for those of you who are new, this is our Cello Tip Thursday live stream, where it's basically an open Q&A. You dolls can ask me whatever questions you would like, whether it's about the music industry or practicing, cello technique, repertoire questions. You can ask me anything you would like. And we do this every single month so that I can connect with you all and we can talk about music. So, I do have an announcement, some housekeeping. At the end of the month, I am going to be joining my friend Paul. Some of you might know him as Taekwondo Cello on Instagram. And we are going to be doing some shows in Southern California in the LA area. So if you are in LA and you're available May 21st through the 25th, then come listen to some cello. May 21st through May 25th. And you will see in the live stream chat, I have pinned the show information, including a link. So that link you see is a landing page, which will tell you about all the shows we're doing, where they are, and how you can reserve tickets if the show requires pre-purchase tickets. So check out that link if you are in the LA area at the end of May. And we have a very nice doll on YouTube who wrote, I was at the last show and it was great. Thank you so much for that endorsement. And it would be a great chance to meet some of you. So again, if you're in LA, come check us out. We're doing everything from Bach to Metallica. It's going to be awesome. And if for those who were at the show last year, we've added some new pieces to our repertoire. So that's really exciting that we have new music. Always trying to switch it up so you all can see some different stuff. So anywho, all right, I'm gonna adjust my lighting on YouTube really quick because I look so washed out. Hold on, give me a minute, give me a second. That's better. I hope it's better. Looked really, it still looks like that. Yeah, it's weird. I don't look like a real person. It looks like I have this like wacky filter on myself. Let's do something like that. That's better. All right, we're good. We're all good. So, if you haven't been here before, feel free to put a question in the chat, and Shelly and I will do our best to help demonstrate. I do need to check on the tuning because his strings are adjusting. Fun. So what I sometimes do is I'll improvise like that while people are coming up with questions, or I'll just talk about something that I find helpful. Oh, someone already asked, what is this improv? I don't know. Some music living in my head, I guess. I love improvising, And I tend to, shocker, I like the minor keys because I'm all dark and broody and whatever, that kind of stuff, I guess. One of my, oh, thank you. One of my bucket list items is I would love to help with composing or recording a soundtrack for a horror movie. I think that would be so much fun. Would love to someday get involved in movie scoring and underscoring scenes and stuff like that. It's really, really fun. For those of you, this is actually a really fun exercise. So I guess this is going to segue into a tip. So for those of you who are hesitant about improvising, there's actually a really, really cool exercise you can do on YouTube. So, and this is so fun. Go to YouTube and pick your favorite genre, whether you like action movies, fantasy, horror, thriller. Just Google famous scenes from horror movies. And you might find a playlist or a montage of scenes. So try to find something longer. Don't go clip by clip because that's kind of tedious. I would recommend trying to find a montage or a playlist of famous scenes from your favorite genre. Mute your computer. That's the key. Mute the computer, play the scene, and play along to it. It's a really fun way to improvise and think about characters and atmospheres and how you can convey that with your cello. So I think that's an incredible exercise or you can even find your favorite movie, mute it, and just play along to it. Try to underscore in the moment and come up with things. Because I think sometimes if you think about a visual or have a visual, it really frees you up to improvising. And the more you do it, the better you will get at it. I mean, it's practicing, right? So I actually really like that exercise. So yeah, I think that's really, really fun if you have a hard time with improvising. Improvise to a muted movie or TV. You know what I should really do is improvise to happy things. Because I'm really good at the dark and broody stuff. The happy stuff. Which I don't know why. Because I think I'm a generally pretty happy, bubbly person. I guess, I don't know. The moodier stuff tends to speak to me. So I'll play some happy stuff and await a question from our dolls here. Yeah. And it's weird. Like, I think that sounded good, you know, but it's, I don't know, the darker brooding stuff comes more naturally. Let me see. Can I think of more improvising tips? I mean, another thing too is just to really listen to, oh, thank you. Thank you so much on YouTube. I also, out here in Vegas, I play occasionally in some groups that do a lot of genre fusion. And whenever we do a jazz number, this is with the pop Pop Strings Orchestra. We have some incredible improvisers, saxophone, keyboard, bass, and I just glue my ear to those players, and I listen for how they solo, certain figures they use in their solo. So I think just really listening to professional jazz musicians is a very, very valuable thing to do if you're apprehensive about improvising. It's definitely a different way of improvising, but I still think you can learn so much. Listen to the rhythms they use. Another thing too, I know I'm kind of going into an improv tangent, but I think it's valuable to talk about. I get so surprised about how many people, when they solo, my issue was I thought I would have to do all these complex runs all the time. Like, I don't know, what key do I want to be? I mean, yeah, it's a little flashy, but it's very busy. And after a while, the ear gets really desensitized to doing all of those runs. So you hear a lot of jazz players, they'll kind of repeat a certain pitch and then run around the pitch. That was the pitch B. I was kind of coming in and out of the pitch B. And so that was really, really listening how strategically they do really elaborate runs and how they repeat material. That was really eye-opening for me. I just thought, I just have to play scales up and down my cello for the whole solo and everyone's going to think it's great. Well, no, I think it's important to have some sort of focal point in your improv. Could be something you come back to. And another reason I'm talking so much about improv as well is because the theme of our concerts at the end of the month, we're going to be doing some improv in those concerts. So not only are we going to be playing repertoire, we're also going to be doing some improvisation in our concerts. So we're fusing classical training with rock music, soundtrack music, and improv. So I think I've been practicing some improv lately, so my brain's just kind of in that world. But yes. So let's see. We talked about playing along to silent movies or muting a movie, listening to jazz soloists. And I tell you, the more you listen, the more you're going to find patterns in how they solo. Themes, trends they do. And the other thing, someone made a good point. What about improvising over a drone? Sure. That kind of, you predicted my next tip, which is, well, first off, there's a lot of phone apps where you can find drones that actually sound really, really nice, and it's not your metronome screaming at you. And what you can do is pick a drone that is your key. So let's say you want to be in the key of D major, and that's honestly, it might sound a little simple, but when you're starting your journey with improv, just really picking one key and sticking to it. That is something, what was I going to say? I saw another question pop up and I got excited. So, let me see. Pick one key. So let's say you want to be in like C major and really be disciplined about staying in that key. And I know it might sound kind of easy. Oh, I'm just going to play in C major the whole time. But you'll find that you might play a note all of a sudden that's not in it. And if that happens, don't be afraid of it. Just kind of resolve it to a note in the pitch. So let's say... So, you know, F sharp's not in the key, B flat's not in the key. So I resolved it up to G. And then I go down to A. So if you play a note outside of your key, don't freeze up and be like, oh my God, it's wrong. No, just move along. And I think that's really one of the big things about improv. Some people think, oh, if I play something outside of the key, it's ruined. Well, no. There is a thing as passing tones, and those are in classical music too, where you might have something like a... You might have something like that, or that's a big thing in jazz if you have a flat leading tone. So if we do a C scale, we're good. So B is our leading tone. B goes to C, right? And if you make that flat, that'll give it a little bit of a jazzy feel. Any great improvisation soloist of any instrument to suggest? So let me think. Oh, this is someone who's really fun and is actually a good friend of mine. Cello Joe. I don't think they're here today. But Cello Joe is an improv beatboxing cellist. He's amazing. Not only does he improvise, I played a show with him where not only he improvised a song on the spot, so he asked audiences for topics, and I think we had something like penguins and cheese. And he made up song lyrics. He made up a cello part, did some looping, and it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in a live concert. And it was a great song about penguins and cheese. It was amazing. So check out Cello Joe's stuff. He's amazing. Let me think. Give me a second. Because, let me see. I think I'm blanking on some names here. I mean, there's also like the golden age of jazz. Louis Armstrong, you can't go wrong with some of his trumpet solos. He really was a huge game changer in Miles Davis as well. Of course, Duke Ellington. Also, someone like Ella Fitzgerald, hearing vocalists scat, where they say kind of percussive syllables, and they kind of treat their voice. It's like a melodic percussion instrument. It's really cool to hear famous singers scat. So Cello Joe, if you're interested in cello. And of course, any famous jazz player from that era is It's wild. And again, there's jazz improv, pop improv. There's so many different genres too. So, fun fact, I don't know if you dolls know this. A cadenza. So for those of you who might not know, in a concerto, which will feature a solo instrument and an orchestra is accompanying them, the soloist sits in the front, there's a section called a cadenza, where the solo instrument is a cappella, basically. The orchestra stops playing, they usually play this dramatic chord, and then the soloist will play something really flashy and virtuosic. This is a classical music thing. Back in the day, the soloist who could really show off would write their own cadenza or improvise their own cadenza, which is so interesting that a lot of, unfortunately, it's like a bad stereotype that classically trained musicians can't improvise. But the thing is, people like Bach were known as improvisers before composers. Like Bach was a countrywide, maybe even beyond that, he was such a famous improviser. He would go and do like competitive organ improvising. And if time travel is ever a thing, that is like one of the moments I want to go back to in history. I want to go watch Bach do an organ improv competition. That's like my bucket list. If I could pick one moment in history, I want to go watch Bach do a improv competition. It'd be so cool. So cool. But those classical, like the fathers of classical music, were improvisers, you know? And so back then, so there is a classical way to improvise. And I really highly encourage people to become more comfortable with it. I really, really do. So, well, how do I do that, Carolyn? You're talking the talk. Let's walk the walk. What are we going to do? So, I think in a lot of, and again, this is why, a big reason why teachers tell you practice your scales, is because you can use those types of scales for improv. Kind of a way to do it in a classical style. If you pick a key, so let's go back, we keep going to C major. And then your arpeggio. I mean, start with your arpeggio for sure. And you also want to know that leading tone we were talking about. Because that's really going to push the tension towards the key of C. So we have the arpeggio, your leading tone, which is the 7th, and your 5th. So, and that's already in your arpeggio, but I want you to keep in mind, especially that 5th note of the scale. So, kind of a good exercise, play your arpeggio with the added 7th in it. If you want it to be jazzy, lower the 7th. You know, but if we're thinking of classical stuff, then we're going to keep the 7th for now as it is in the key. So stay in the key of C and linger on one of those notes during your improv. So one note. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's linger on C, which is our home key. On the first note of our arpeggio, which is E. Sorry, not the second note of our arpeggio, sorry. E, as in Edward. Now we're going to do G. But here's the rule. G is our fifth note of the scale and our arpeggio. I want you, whenever you play a G, to resolve it down to C. This is something we call a cadence in classical music. It's your fifth note of the scale, so C, D, E, F, G. 5 resolves to 1, which is C. 5 goes to 1, G goes to C. And you're going to kind of feel this tension and release. Okay, so that is your rule to try out for the 5th degree. And last but not least, that 7th leading tone, B, C. Oh, that wasn't even right. B, C. There it is. You want to resolve it to C. That's what the leading tone wants to do. It's that half-step tension. Yeah, I probably just annoyed a lot of you. You want it to go up to C. If you just stopped on B, it feels unresolved and it doesn't feel right. So, what I would do is linger on the B and always resolve it to a C. Okay? So... So that's kind of the first step. Even if you just do quarter notes, that's fine. You don't have to go wild with the rhythms yet. Even if you just start with quarter notes, that's excellent. And then the next challenge is to pick certain rhythms you find in classical music. So let's pick a simple one. Quarter, eighth, eighth, quarter, eighth, eighth, quarter, etc. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So picking a rhythm to stick to is kind of level 3 or 4, because you're having to keep track of the rhythm in your head while staying within a tonality or a key. You could choose to linger on one of those key pitches. You don't have to, but let's just focus on 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So... Okay, so that's a fun exercise. Again, you have to make up well, I shouldn't say make up, you're choosing C major notes on the spot, and you are sticking to a rhythmic pattern. And I really hope either my dolls are listening very intently or I am boring. It's okay. So I gotta tell you guys, and I'll give one more really good tip for classical improv. When I'm going and giving you all some tips of my own, please feel free to interrupt me. Say, hey, I really have a question about Brahms' cello sonata. Like, please interrupt me, because I do want to help you all out. I'm not going to see it as being rude. Yeah, don't be afraid to. Okay, don't be afraid to interrupt me and say, hey, I really have this question, but I don't want to be rude and interrupt her. Interrupt me. That's fine. But I'll tell you one more thing that's really going to make your stuff sound super classical. And you'll find this in your repertoire everywhere. Mama's got to hydrate. So, Okay. All right. So there is something called a sequence. And if you're in my studio and we have lessons, we talk a lot about sequences because they're very important. They are very good for helping with reading music. So especially if you're a beginner, intermediate, there is a trap of reading music one note at a time. What do my fingers have to do? What does my bow have to do? Excuse me. So it's easy to fall in this trap of reading one note at a time. So the way to fix that, if you find sequences, it's going to allow the predictability of where your fingers go. So a sequence is a pattern, and finding patterns is a huge way I teach sheet music. I think finding patterns in music is so helpful. So basically a sequence is a short chunk of music, and they take that music. So the music will have a certain direction. It might go down, up, it might go up. Look at the direction of the music. They take that segment and they will bump it up or bump it down. And the direction of the music stays the same. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of sequences. So if we have... You get the point of it? 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and it's going down. Now it doesn't have, you could do something like... So you can skip some notes in the progression of going up or down. You can also juggle. So let me think. So that one I'm kind of mixing it up with some going up, some going down. But again, they share the same rhythm and they get bumped up or down. And I should say, in some places like Bach, also in some modern neoclassical stuff, you might find they kind of switch up the direction. We call that an inversion. Don't worry about it. That goes out to the fellow music theory nerds like myself. Oh my God, give me a piece to analyze and I will have a great time. I was such a music theory nerd in college. But I loved it. And it's so great. I love analyzing music. But anyways, So you can take a sequence and add that to your improv. And that's really going to give it kind of that classical flavor you hear in a lot of traditional pieces. So I want you to listen very carefully. I am going to kind of, maybe for the sake of your ears, I'm going to change the key. We're not going to be in C major. We'll switch it up to something else, maybe like F, something different. And I'm going to add some sequences. And really listen. You're going to listen for a repetitive pattern that's moving up or down. So let's see. That was one. That's two. That was three. And that's another one. So I think adding sequences really helps. Really helps with certain, if you want to give a classical flavor to your improv. Because again, I think, and I am very guilty of this myself, when I first heard about improv, I basically thought jazz was improv. Like, I gotta sound like I'm playing jazz. And that is certainly a very famous way to improvise, and I'm like dazzled. I'm like enamored and mesmerized when I watch jazz musicians. I think it's incredible. There's other different ways to improvise in different genres, and I really learned that in college when I started playing modern music. So basically anything written after 1940-ish. Although now that we're in 2020s, that might be like after the 60s. So basically anything within, I don't know, the past like 60 years or so, maybe more, is considered more modern. And in modern music, there's something called free improv, where you're given certain characteristics and then anything goes. Like they might say, you have to stay in the key of C, but you can't play a C. Or you can be in the key of C, but you can only do auxiliary techniques. So things like tremolo, snap, pizzicato. And I realized that really free improv literally freed me up, because the rules are so flexible in free improv. I shouldn't say that, in a lot of free improv. I've had some modern pieces that are very specific on how you can improvise, and literally the composer just writes directions. Like in school when you would get assignments and the directions are at the top. That's how a lot of modern music is. So we have a question from a doll. Thank you for your question. How much improvisation can be applied to Baroque versus classical and beyond before people get upset about it? Yeah, I was talking to a student actually earlier today. Was it today? No, it was the other day. And I was like, man, there's so much going on in the world, and people are going to debate how you do a certain turn or trill or something. Like, some people do get upset about it, and I'm like, really? Okay. I don't know. you know, everyone has their thing, I suppose. But Baroque music, because it has a lot of origins and improvisation, I immediately think of the Bach cello suites as a cellist. A lot of times, so something I really like to do in the Bach cello suites, a lot of them have repeats. And when you do the repeat, you can add extra ornamentation, which is kind of like improvising within a form, because you can't improvise and then play, you can't do a repeat and then play something completely different in a Bach cello suite. You have to stick to the core notes, but you can kind of add some fillers in between the notes, which is really fun to do. So I like to use repeats in any Baroque piece. You can definitely improvise on that. Some people, again, it's not very common, but some people improvise cello cadenzas, like especially like Haydn cello concerto. I believe that was one where people used to write their own cadenzas. And some people do it now. Don't get me wrong. Like some people will take a modern cello concerto or a romantic era, and they'll quote like pop songs in them. There's some on YouTube I'm sure you can find, and people get really creative. But I know some people wouldn't like that. And that's, again, we're kind of venturing back into the mission of Cello Doll, which is to kind of break those barriers down. And why does it have to be upsetting? You know what I mean? So I definitely agree with this person on YouTube. There are some barriers around improv, but it doesn't make sense to me, because a big origin, a lot of people consider Bach like a huge founder of classical music, and he was an improviser, you know? But I think once we get, oh boy, now this is hard, because this person's asking how much can be applied. I think Baroque, it's very, very common to improvise. Almost expected in a sense. But then once you get classical and beyond, I really think once you get into late Beethoven, because Beethoven was kind of the catalyst for the Romantic era. He was really the one that started breaking the rules. And I'm sure other composers were doing that, but he was the one that was, becoming famous and well known in his time. I really wish he had more fame, because I think he's more famous now than he was when he was alive. But I think kind of around the late Beethoven era, people kind of started going away from improv. I don't think it disappeared, but I think, because for those of you who don't know, Beethoven, and I don't want to sound like I'm blaming Beethoven, because I don't think he was the only one doing this. Beethoven was very specific about what he wanted. Very specific. And I think as a result, players had to really spend time analyzing the music. And I think people did anyways, but I think there's definitely a new level of focus on when a composer writes something down. What did they mean? What are they trying to say? And again, I took required music history. So I'm kind of combining that with my general experience playing cello repertoire. So I'm sure there's a much more exact answer someone can give you. I'm curious. I'm going to look up, and this is really bad. I don't have my composer dates memorized. Don't get mad at me. Okay. I don't have composer dates memorized, guys. I'm really sorry. Okay, so let me show you an example. We're going to look at the Romantic era of classical music versus Beethoven's dates. Yep. Okay. And again, these dates, when it comes to art era, it's always like approximate, give or take 5 years. But in general, okay, so yeah, Beethoven died in 1827 is when Beethoven died. And the start of the Romantic era is around 1830. So just 3 years after Beethoven's death is considered the start of the Romantic era. And in order for an era to be established, people beforehand had to be setting it up, breaking the rules, doing new trends, things like that. And we know social media trends all the time, right? Certain trends are cool during this year, and then a new trend takes off. So Beethoven was starting a new trend. He passed away in 1827, and the Romantic era starts in 1830, and I don't think that's a coincidence. So we're often taught in school Beethoven was the catalyst for the Romantic era. Again, not the only one by any means, but definitely a big force in that. So yeah, don't get me started on, I will go on forever. Does no one have any questions? It's okay. It's okay if people don't have questions, it's fine, but I don't want to bore people. Because now we're getting into music history, which was not my favorite. Way back when I had to take medieval history. Oh my God. Guys, if you're a music major out there, you know. It's like, who composed this madrigal that you're listening to? What year was this random song I'll never hear again? That's a lot. That's a lot. But then again, some people love it, right? And that's why we have this information, is because of the incredible musicologists. Oh, well, thank you on YouTube. I really appreciate that. So, yeah. That's why I find musicologists so fascinating. Hi on Instagram. Thank you for the hello. Hello. Yeah, because they find out this kind of stuff, and that's how we can perform music that's centuries years old. We can perform it more so the way it was intended, right? So, God bless musicologists. I have so much respect for you all. I really do. Awesome. Ooh, I have gone back on Instagram. I'm not in my frame. Why does it look so weird? Wait, stay. What subject was your favorite in college? That's a good question. I mean, outside of like performing, like actively playing, I mean, some of my favorite memories were with really influential cello teachers, but in terms of like a classroom setting, I would still have to say music theory. Music theory, especially when I got into modern music theory, which is very different because a lot of modern music theory is about the intent of the composer and how to decode that in the music. Because in the classical era, you have a lot of chord structures and chord progressions. But in modern music, again, the rules are very wild. And I think I found I was really going inside the composer's brain a lot because, again, we didn't have super established, like, I'm trying to think of how to say this, like, a lot of rules were out the window, like weird chord progressions, no chord progressions. Some people composed using numbers instead of scaled degrees. So I think that one was very, it really honed in my musical intuition. So I really enjoyed modern music theory. All right, we got some questions about strings. I think this is great. Thank you so much on YouTube. Have you ever tried versum, soloist D, and A strings? I don't think I have tried those. I'm really sorry. And it's really interesting you say that because I filmed some of when I was changing Chelly's strings. So I'm going to be publishing probably next week some tips on changing your strings, like as some reels and YouTube shorts. Let me see what you're talking about and see if I know the packaging. I don't know if I've heard of them. Oh, these. Okay. You know something? One of my teachers in college used these. One of my college professors used those strings. I talked about it with them once. So if they really like them, I would endorse it. I really trusted this. I still really trust this cellist. But the thing is, I have to point out what this doll mentioned. My luthier is advising me to try those, and that's really important. So I'm really glad you got advice from your luthier. The reason I think that's great is because different strings, the same string will sound different across multiple cellos. What I like for cello might not get you the results you want on your cello, because every cello is like a fingerprint or a snowflake. Like every cello is different. And so a luthier, for those of you who don't know, is a string doctor. And a lot of luthiers also are instrument makers and build string instruments like cellos. So a luthier is gonna listen to your cello and be able to say, oh, you might need a brighter A string or a darker A string. So they really know the lingo and sound potential. So I would say go with it. Again, I haven't used them, but people that I highly respect have used them. Next question. Do you play open strings much, like open A's, or do you mostly play it in fourth position or some other position on the D string? This is a great question. So to quickly illustrate, also I love your YouTube username. Their username has the word puppy. So I'm just imagining it's a cello playing dog asking me these questions, and that would be incredible. So your YouTube name made me smile, and now I'm just gonna imagine a cello playing puppy. Isn't that adorable? Oh my god, that would be so fun. Okay, so yes. So basically we have certain notes on the cello overlap. These are both the pitch A. So I could play same pitches, different timbres. Timbre is a fancy word for color, tone quality. A string is very vibrant and tends to be a little more piercing. And the D string is more mellow and subdued. So my answer to you is it's the context. If it's loud, forte, you really got to project A string. If it's soft, mellow, piano dynamic, D string. The other factor is how much vibrato am I going to use, because you can't vibrate on an open A. So if I'm really that open string sounds a little dull because I'm able to vibrate so freely on the other notes. So you could combine them. If, let's say, it's a loud section, but you have a long note on the pitch A, find a spot where you can shift and vibrate on that A. So again, what is your dynamic or volume or character? Is it a bold, loud moment, or is it soft and subdued? If it's softer, I tend to do D string. And then, am I going to want to use vibrato? Do I have something like a whole note on the pitch A? I mean, 1, 2, 3. I mean, having the vibrato really makes the note come alive. And so, if you're going to combine them, so my example I made up, you really have to match you can't go because the volume's going to drop because the A string is so bright. If your forte across the A and D string, you got to really give the D string some extra bow arm weight, some extra oomph, and then maybe lighten up a little bit on the A string so you can meet in the middle. This is something I've been talking a lot with my students recently, is every string has a different color and therefore kind of a different volume. If you keep your bow arm weight the same and you don't change anything, you're going to hear a diminuendo as you go lower down the cello. So whenever you're going on a lower string, you have to put in more bow arm weight. Don't press. Heavy elbow, sinking. It's not this. It's like that. So okay. So I hope that helped you with your question. It's a lot of it is context. So, and again, you can experiment and see what sound you like better. Excuse me. See what sound you like better, what feels good to your ear, what interpretation you like. And that's another big way you can interpret is how you play, what string you choose to play certain notes. That can be a part of your unique interpretation. Cool. In turns or running ornaments, how do you create this light feathering effect in contrast to the main solid notes? Solid. A light feathery effect. I mean, feathery to me, and I would like to know what you mean by solid notes as opposed to harmonics, maybe? I'm not sure. Feathery is all in the bow. So really, so what I'm doing with the bow is instead, so if the stick is away from you, I'm doing it extreme right now, but you're going to be using all of your bow hair. So like opening to Dvorak Concerto or something, I'm going to really lean the bow that way to get a big sound. If you lean the stick towards you, you start going on the tippy toes of the hair. So if you bring the stick towards yourself, anyone know the Arpeggione by Schubert? It's so hard, but it's beautiful. That's it. That's what it is. So I tend to lean. That's okay. Oh, I understand. Oh, okay, perfect. No, you are totally fine. So what this stall means is improvised notes versus the notes that are written. So if you're playing something like Bach, you have printed pitches and you're ornamenting around them. How do you make them maybe more delicate if you want to bring out the main pitches? So I do have my Bach book here. But the quick answer to your question is it's all has to do with the bow. Bow weight. So having different types of bow arm weight. You don't want to do it like really drastic, but just, it's kind of like having a shift in your car. Going from one gear to another gear. So having two gears in mind for your bow. Let me see. I don't know. The first time I improvised in a recital on a Bach suite was suite number 6, I think. Ah, how daring! Oh my god. I don't know. I was feeling very ballsy. I believe it was the 6th. I think it was. I can't remember what I did though. I'll just pick one I'm working on recently. Okay, so let's take, for example, Boré from the 3rd suite. So maybe, so a lot of you will actually know this one. It's quite famous. Okay, so if I want to keep those notes, I would practice it slowly. Make the printed notes a little more connected, heavier in the bow arm. Yeah. So basically, this also has to do with timing, which is something very important for your question. So you'll notice I linger on the written pitch, so it's kind of like this, and then maybe that. You have to linger slightly on the written pitch, and then you kind of lighten up for your flourish return, but you stretch that first note, almost like you're not, it has to sound like a spontaneous choice, and that's what makes improv effective. So I'll do another, that's what I'm going to do. Let's add more notes. Now you notice I'm improvising on top of, that's what's normally written. I'm just filling in the rest of the notes to create a scale, but I'm not accenting every written pitch. Just start with the first one, the first written pitch. So if you're gonna connect multiple written pitches, linger on the first one, and then consider the rest of them part of your flourish. You don't have to go. It's gonna sound up, like kind of a little jerky. Okay, so now I'm wondering if it was the 3rd suite I was improvising on. I don't remember which one. I'll have to look. It's on my YouTube channel, deep in the archives, if anyone's curious. It's a recital video where I'm in a red dress and I'm playing a Bach suite. I should remember. But I've gone through these suites so many times. Anywho, that's a very good question. So again, lingering slightly and then adding the rest of the flourish. And it doesn't have to sound super precise. Dum ba da 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 dum bum ba da dum bum bum. And if you're connecting multiple written pitches in a flourish, just linger on the first one. You don't have to accent every single written pitch, because think of your improv as a gesture. That's very important, having it go up and be light, or maybe it's something that cascades down and becomes loud. So think of them like a gesture. That word's always hard for me for some reason. A gesture, rather than something very metronomic. All right, my dolls, so fun. We had a themed live stream and I didn't even plan it. But I really hope this is helpful. I know I myself was very much scared of improvising for sure. And I really hope people see this live stream title and get excited and learn something and find improvising a little more approachable. Again, a lot of exercises, a lot of things you can listen for. Again, speaking of improv, I'm going to do one more shout out for my concert at the end of this month. May 21st through May 25th, I am going to be in SoCal in the Los Angeles area. I'm doing a series of duo concerts with my friend Paul, who is also known as Cello. So our duo is called Celli à deux instead of like folie à deux. Joint cellos, because we're a duet. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to bring some new pieces to our set. The last concert series we did was here in Vegas, so we're changing it up a little bit. So if you're interested and you are in the Los Angeles area, there is a link that is pinned to the chat on YouTube. I'm also going to put it in the video comments. On Instagram, it is also in my bio link. You click on that and you are going to go to our duos landing page. There is going to be a list of all the venues we'll be playing at, the dates, and whether or not you need to reserve tickets. Some of them are donation based and you just show up. Some of them you do need a ticket to get in. So please look at the link. Make sure you have the right information for the right date. And I really hope to see some of you in LA at the end of the month. Thank you for joining me for this live stream early. That is why it's early this month, because I'm going to be really, really busy doing these concerts. And I'm also doing another thing at the end of the month. So the end of the month is going to be fun, but very busy. So I wanted to make time for you all and come here early in the month. Wonderful to chat with you all. Thank you so much for being here. And again, please come down to our concerts if you are in the Los Angeles area. Thank you all so much. As always, have a happy time practicing and adventuring with your cello as you learn and grow. And we will see you next time in June. Bye-bye.